Welcome to Harvesting Clouds, where we take a practical approach to learning and leveraging clouds.
In this video, we will see how to work with Azure Storage accounts using Azure Storage Explorer. Alright, so the agenda for this particular video is looking at the Storage Explorer utility. We are going to focus on three primary areas. All that you need to know for performing 90% of the tasks with this Storage Explorer utility can be clubbed into these three major categories. The first one of this is connectivity options. How you can connect to your storage account in different ways from Storage Explorer utility. Now, once you are connected, we will be working with the storage account. We will be creating containers, creating different folders, uploading the files, downloading the files, deleting the files, and so on. Lastly, we will be checking at different settings that are available, how to customize your experience, how to change the default behavior. So let's get started. Before I can jump into the Storage Explorer utility, I need some information from my storage account in the Azure Portal. That's why I'm here in the portal. I need to navigate to my storage account. Now in here, I can get all the information I need. But before we do that, I have a pro tip for you. Now Microsoft has released Storage Explorer's web version right within the portal. From here, on the left hand side, you can click on this Storage Explorer option. Since you are already logged into the portal, you do not need to authenticate or connect to the storage account. You are already connected. You can navigate to any one of these four options: blob containers, file shares, queues, tables. For example, you can click on any container and then you can start working with this. You can start uploading the data, downloading the data, opening the files, creating new folder, and so on. For now, we'll use the Storage Explorer utility, which is much more powerful. And we'll see soon why. So one information I need from the portal is the access key for my storage account. This is one way to connect to my storage account, as we also saw in one of the earlier videos. So here, for any of the key, copy the connection string. Now, once I have this information, I'll navigate to the storage account utility or Storage Explorer utility. Now in here, this is the default view. This is how it will be when you will first launch, with the exception that you will have this particular dialog box automatically opened up the very first time you launch this utility. So what this dialog box is telling you is connect to the Azure Storage account. These are the different ways through which you can connect to the storage account. The first one of this is adding an Azure account, that is you are logging in, connecting to the whole environment. That way you will be able to see all the storage accounts in that particular environment. What other options you have? You have Azure China, Azure Germany, US government, and then any new environment that may come up in future. For now, Azure public environment is the one we are interested in. Hit next. It will wait for authentication. It will open up sign in to your account pop-up. I'll authenticate with my information. I'll take this off screen while I enter the information. It is asking me for the two-factor authentication. Now once I'm authenticated, it will load my account. It will load all the subscriptions under my account. And then for each of those subscriptions, I can expand and go to all the storage accounts that are there in each of those subscriptions. So as you can see, it automatically switched the tab from the Explorer to the Manage Accounts tab. And right now it is loading all the subscriptions. It is asking me which subscription you want to take a look at. I can select all subscriptions, or I can cherry pick the subscriptions with which I want to work. For now, let's leave it at all subscriptions for demo purposes and hit apply. It immediately takes me back to the first tab, that is Toggle Explorer. In here, all the subscriptions are loaded. I can expand any of the subscription. It is right now connecting to the Azure APIs and loading all the storage accounts. As you can see, it loaded all the storage accounts in that particular subscription. This is the one I'm interested in. In here, you can see I can connect to the blob containers, the file shares, queues, and tables, and everything. I can double click on blob containers to expand it. It shows me the containers within that. If I click on any container, it will show me the nested folders within that container or the objects, that is your files. Right now I have a PNG file, that is an image, and a text file. Now whatever you select on the left hand side, it shows you all the properties for that in this particular pane. For example, if you want a URL which directly connects to this particular container, it will give you that on this particular area. Under actions, it gives you different actions. Do you want to delete this container? Do you want to create a new tab for this particular container? Do you want to open this? Right now this is open on the right hand side. You want to clone this with a new name, and so on and so forth. There are multiple actions that you can configure or take directly on this particular container. So this is where all those actions are listed. On the right hand side, this is where we are going to work with this particular container. But for now, let's back up a bit. We are still in the first phase of the agenda. That is looking at how to connect to our storage account. So this is just one way. You can also see all the managed disks. So you can work with managed disks as well. This is really powerful utility. Under the hood, when you upload or download, this is using AZ copy, which is one of the industry standard to copy over the data. We will be looking at that. We'll be discussing that in a little bit more detail very soon. So this was the first way. You connect to your account, all the subscriptions under that account and all the storage accounts under those subscriptions, they all are listed and you can work with them. But let's say you are working as a vendor for a different organization and that organization wants you to work on their storage account. So they have only given you the access keys. Since they don't need to give you access into their subscription, you can work with the storage account leveraging only the access keys. That is more than enough. You don't need to know what is the authentication information, how to log in. Access key acts as the authentication information. That is how you authenticate with the storage account. And the storage account name itself, that is unique within the whole Microsoft namespace. If I have a storage account with a particular name, then nobody in the world can create a storage account with the same name. So what I can do is I can click on this icon to open the connect dialog. Now in here, this is the first option that we chose earlier. Now this is the option I want to select, use a connection string, and then I'll use the connection string that I got from my storage account. So if I switch back to the portal, this is what I'm talking about. Under settings, under access keys, this is the connection string that we copied. So let's go back to the Storage Explorer. This is the option we are using. Hit next. Provide any display name. This is for your management perspective. This does not affect your connectivity at all. Your connection string is what affects the connectivity. Once I click next, from that connection string, it infers what is the name of the storage account that we are going to connect to and what is the exact key that we are using to connect to that storage account. We are connecting over HTTPS. That is a secure encrypted channel. And this is the endpoint suffix. So we'll hit connect. And immediately it connects to that particular connection we just now created. So under this, we have blob containers, and I can again navigate to each and every container. So this is another way. Now, if I want to disconnect, once I have completed all the operations that I wanted to do, I can right click and click on detach. And then I'll hit yes in the confirmation box. Now let's look at some other options that we have to connect. And the options are a lot. So connection string was one. There is another option that is storage account name and key. In here, again, you provide a display name. You provide the account name, that is your name for the storage account. As I said earlier, this is a unique name, so Microsoft will be able to identify where this storage account is. And then the key. This time I'm not copying the connection string, but only the key itself. And then storage domain is Azure public, that is. Use HTTP. I'm not going to use this. I won't recommend using this since HTTPS is the only way you should be connecting. HTTPS is the secure encrypted channel. That is the one you should be using. Hit next and then click connect. Again, you are connected to this particular storage account. Let's detach again and look at one last way of connecting. Now, if you followed an earlier video, these keys, these access keys are the keys to the kingdom. These should only be used by the administrators. This should not be used by any vendors or any application that needs access temporarily to your storage account. Anybody who gets these keys essentially is getting complete access to your storage account. So to limit the access, what you do is you use something called shared access signature. It works in a similar way. From connectivity perspective, you don't have much difference. What you do is you specify which services you want to give access to, which resource types, what kind of permissions you are giving when you're creating the shared access signature. And then this is unique. You define the start and the end time when the access will be accessible through this particular shared access signature and when that access will expire. For example, I can say that it will expire exactly 1 month after I provide this access. That is on 12th of May. And you should only select HTTPS only as the allowed protocol. That way, even if somebody tries to connect it over HTTP, they will not be able to do that. Click on this button. The connection string will be created for you. Copy this. Switch back to your Storage Explorer. And then this is one way of connecting by clicking on this to get to this particular pop-up. Another way of getting to this particular pop-up is by right-clicking on storage account and clicking on connect to Azure Storage. It brings me to the same pop-up, same dialog to connect to the Azure Storage. Click on use a connection string, hit next, provide a display name. Provide that particular connection string. This time we are using a SAS token. So this connection summary looks a bit different. It has an expiration date. Nobody will be able to use this token after this expiration date. Hit connect. It will connect to my storage account. Double click to expand the blob containers. I can see the same containers. So that concludes the first aspect. That means how you can connect to your storage account. Now, on to the second part of the agenda. That is what you can do when working with your storage account. First thing, we have already seen multiple actions. You can take all these actions on this particular container. For example, clicking on open a new tab, same thing opens up in a new tab. And you can have multiple tabs over here. For example, for this particular storage account, I can create another tab. I can keep on opening these new tabs and then comparing the data between each of those two tabs if I want to. So let's close the other tabs and keep only the test container 01, that is the first container in here, and see what we can do in here. So here I can upload directly the files or folders. So I'll click on upload folders. Here I can select the folder. I already created a folder with some dummy files. So I'll open that one. This is named as to copy. I'll select this folder. Blob type, you can have page blob, append blob, or block blob. In most of the scenario, you are going to be using a blob when uploading your files. Each file is called a blob. So down below, it shows that it is transferring the files. As you can see, the files have already started transferring. I can double click on a folder and look at the files inside. Now, here's another pro tip. This tool is leveraging AZ copy under the hood. AZ copy is a utility that you can leverage to create some scripts. You can directly use this AZ copy utility. AZ copy utility is a command line utility, and Storage Explorer is the GUI version, a graphical user interface version built on top of that AZ copy utility. Now, if somebody is writing scripts, then how you can create the commands for AZ copy very fast, very quickly. The easiest hack to that is open Storage Explorer, try to perform the same operations, and then in this activities panel, when that operation occurs, there will be this link to copy the underlying AZ command that it executed to perform that operation. You can click on copy AZ command and then can paste it into the, let's say, notepad to look at what that command looks like. For example, for this particular scenario, for copying over the data, this is what the command looks like. Let's take a quick peek. We'll not go into the depth of this. What it is doing is basically it is setting some environment variables and then leveraging this command line AZ copy utility. Within AZ copy utility, it is using copy command, and then it is providing the source path on my laptop and then the destination path. And then it is saying that if it needs to overwrite, then prompt for it. And there are some other options as well. So I'll navigate back to my Storage Explorer and keep on working with these options. So you can upload the data. Similarly, you can also download the data. You can open a folder, for example, you can open a file as well. You can create a new folder by simply clicking on the new folder. This becomes your new virtual directory. Hit OK. It creates that particular virtual directory. You can navigate back and up by clicking on these buttons. You can copy a URL directly to this particular resource. For example, if I want to give a URL to somebody in my team that, okay, this is a URL to the exact file that I want you to take a look at, I can simply click on that particular file and click on copy URL. If you want to take operation on all the files, you can simply click on select all in page. And for example, you can delete all these files in a single go. Or you can copy and paste. Or you can clone this particular file with a new name by simply clicking on this button. So I can name this, for example, 02, hit clone. It will create a duplicate of this file with a new name that I specified. So you can perform multiple operations. These are all the operations that are available. They are very easy to understand, very easy to access. And if you have a particular operation in mind that you are trying to accomplish, let me know in the comments below, and I can let you know how to perform that particular operation. Now that concludes the second part, working with your storage account. Now on to the last part. We'll look at a couple of key settings to make this particular tool your own, to customize the experience of this particular tool. So what those settings are. First one, an important tip. Let's say you do not have Azure, you are not working with Azure, but instead you are working with Azure Stack. You can still use this particular tool to work with Azure Stack. How you can do that is navigate to the edit menu. Under here, click on target Azure Stack API. And then you click on restart now. Instead of working with Azure Portal, the public Azure, it will start working with Azure Stack. Azure Stack is your enterprise version of Azure. It has same look and feel, same APIs. It also uses Resource Manager, and you will be able to work with the storage accounts within Azure Stack. For now, I'll cancel the changes. Another thing is, if you don't have internet connectivity, you are sitting behind a proxy server, you can configure the proxy server in here by navigating to the edit menu, clicking on configure proxy. In here, you can configure the proxy details, and then you will be connected to your storage account through that proxy. Now all these bars, if let's say I'm working with the data and the data, there is a lot of it, and I don't want to see all these bars, all these extra details. I have taken all the actions that I needed to. I am in the container that where I want to work. I don't want to see these bars. Click on view. Click on, for example, activity log. This collapses. Click on view again, toggle sidebar. The sidebar collapses. If you want to bring that back again click on view menu and click on toggle sidebar. Another setting, accessibility setting. Navigate to view. If let's say this is not big enough for you to read, so you can click on this zoom in button. It will make it bigger. And if let's say it's too big for you, you can reset the zoom or zoom out one level at a time, and then it will keep on making it smaller to the level that is its default. Lastly, the settings for this particular tool. Those can be accessed on the left hand side by clicking on this gear icon. It opens up in a new tab. As you can see, it follows this tabbed structure. So here the key settings are under the application category. You also have the proxy settings over here. These are the same settings that we accessed from the edit menu over here. You can configure all those settings over here. And there are sign-in related settings as well. One setting that I highly recommend that you change from the default is the logout on exit. Especially if you are working on a shared laptop, this setting should be enabled. For example, right now I'm connected to my account. So if I close this particular Storage Explorer and let's say somebody else connects to my session or says that I want to use your laptop for something, just send a quick email, then they will be able to open the Storage Explorer and view all the subscriptions as we did earlier. So as a best practice, you should select this checkbox to log out on exit. It's an extra step. Next time you open the Storage Explorer, you will need to log back in. And that's why Microsoft has left it as unchecked by default. But if you are working on shared laptops or shared desktops, I highly recommend that you select this checkbox. Now, another settings that I want to cover are the transfer related settings. This is where you can customize the AZ copy utility. Underlying beneath this particular Azure Storage Explorer utility, AZ copy is the heart of it. This is the one utility that is being used to copy over the data, to download the data, and so on and so forth. Over here, there are multiple settings that can customize your experience. For example, the SAS tokens, it generates a SAS token even if you are connecting through, let's say, normal keys. Then the duration in days for those SAS tokens that are being used for AZ copy transfers, you can tweak those. You can reduce this number of days or increase this number of days. Maximum transfer rate in Mbps. If you want to throttle the upload speed, you don't want to throttle your whole network. Instead, you want to put a cap on the max transfer rate. If let's say your whole bandwidth is 45 megabyte per second and you are uploading a huge amount of data, that can choke up your network. That can consume maximum of that bandwidth available to your whole network. And people will start complaining in your company. So I highly recommend, if you are going to upload a huge chunk of data, use this option. Use this option to put a cap on the max transfer rate. So similarly, there are various other options for AZ copy utility that you can customize in here. All right, that concludes the second portion of it. So we have seen from starting how you can connect to your storage account through Azure Storage Explorer through different ways. Then we saw how you can work with the storage accounts through Storage Explorer. And lastly, we took a look at different settings that are available in this Storage Explorer utility. If you think I missed some section or I did not cover an area, let me know in the comments below and I can help answer your questions. If you like the content, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified of the new content. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.